Hey everyone, welcome to Asking Around with Tiana. This past month has been bringing up a lot of emotions. After a year of living in the Netherlands and traveling around a bunch, I'm finding it really challenging to figure out where my roots actually are in Canada again, now that I'm living in an apartment downtown. I don't know where I belong anymore. I don't know. It's really stressful. So in February, while I'm also sorting all of that out in my mind, I also really want to have a big focus on comedy and creative thinking. I think comedy is also just really good for creative problem solving and for just being able to navigate life's challenges gracefully. All that to say, this month's Asking Around episode is on comedy. For this project, I just wanted to dive right into the Toronto comedy community, get a feel for the energy there. So I started with talking to my friend Ben Ball, who's a comedian, and he makes skits that he posts to YouTube and social media. He's also like a filmmaker and general awesome storyteller. So I wanted to get a sense of his perspective on comedy and then go to a show at the Comedy Bar. So you've done stand-up before.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What's your experience with stand-up? What's your story there?
Stand-up I started doing in a comedy troupe in college. Obviously extremely nervous the first time I did it, but it went really well the first time. And then the second time not as well, and then a couple times pretty well within the first 10 times or so I did it. I'm really trying to get back on stage because I don't do much stage stuff. I barely do any stage stuff actually. I think there's a certain level of like, I've put myself into a place when I'm just making my own stuff where I'm like, it kind of needs to be my realm for myself to feel comfortable to be funny or like to do stuff, characters. And that's not a rule, but I wonder if that's like the downside of not having continued on with it. But also the reason why I resisted it, I did it like maybe 40 times or something, like over a few years.
Yeah.
And it was really fun, and like when it goes well, it's really fun. But I think for me, when I would get off stage after a bad one, especially when I'm like alone, like doing the grind, it would just I would just be like, I'm pretty sure some people get off stage and feel energized right now. Like even though bombing sucks, they're just like, all right, it's part of it. Tomorrow, same time. And for me, I was just like, I am not feeling that. I'm feeling like I just wasted my fucking time and like made myself feel like a loser.
I feel like I'd have to put on some kind of Sasha Fierce, some kind of alter ego.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
In August, I went to a seminar about websites that my friend was hosting, and I spoke there about my websites. Oh, nice. And I kind of like compared my journey through websites with the evolution of algae to land plants. And I accidentally got a lot of laughs through it. I was like, oh, I didn't even mean for this to be silly. But it's kind of interesting, like even like going up on stage and maybe not even thinking about, okay, I'm gonna be funny, just talking about things that interest you. I feel like that might be the way that I approach it, because I really want to try an open mic for the first time this month. And I just feel like, because I've been trying to sit down and like, okay, let's write some jokes. It's like, that feels so terrible. I don't know.
Totally.
Yeah.
I have this watch, this Apple Watch, this fancy schmancy Apple Watch. And one of my favorite features is you can just do voice memos on it. And I was doing that with my phone for years for sketches, and then I'd have a separate thing for stand-up, and you just go, okay, this would be funny. And you just, and if you just get into the routine of that, then that might be the best way if you're finding it hard to sit down. I'm the same way.
At least to get the initial ideas down, like just having a blank page, it's like, I don't know, but having a few like points to start from, I think will be good. And how do you go about developing a joke for stage?
The idea is, for stand-up, as I understand it, is to pretty much develop it based on reception, like, and repetition on the stage in the moment, right? So it's like, I'm not that great yet, I guess, at like writing something and being like, ooh, that's something to explore. For me, it's like, it would just be stories. Like I'd do a 5-minute set and it would just be 2 stories. As you can tell, I just talk a lot. And so I'd just be like, and just tell. And then I'd watch it back and I'd be like, holy shit, you cut it down.
Yeah.
So if ever I was to approach it personally more, I think that's the sense that I got would be my approach. My mom is just a really funny storyteller too. My dad's really funny too, but my mom, in terms of like storytelling, she would come home and she would constantly frame her life as comedy. Like she would just come home with a story and tell it in this like really fluid way that was like kind of like sometimes like a genius, like almost like a panel, you know, like talk show, like the way they would tell a story there.
Whoa.
She would just stand and act it out, kind of in the framework of her being Larry David and everyone else being the crazy people. We would just sit there as kids and just witness this like kind of stand-up set that my mom would have at the end of every day. Unintentionally, she would just be like, that was what she did. She would come home and tell us stories.
That's amazing. I admire people who can tell stories like that so fluidly. I feel like every now and then I'll have something that comes up and I can really tell it, but oh my gosh.
But yeah, you just eventually end up, it's like a philosophy thing, not to get too pretentious, but it is all about like the goal of my life, like my goal for my career or whatever, what I do is like ultimately going to be to help people frame their lives as a comedy because it makes everything a lot easier. It's like a coping thing. So from my psychology, it's a coping thing, but like for other people, when you can like tell a story kind of about your life or something, like the darker the story is and the bigger the challenge is to make it funny. And then it like the more you can do that, I think the more it helps people. And I think that's ultimately my goal, is to be like, look at this sad thing that happened in my life, you know, but then I'm going to frame it as this character I'm playing and it's going to be this comedy show about blah blah blah, and then deep down it's secretly me telling like my worst life event.
And I feel like the thing with that too is you really need to go through the pain of those events to be able to come out on the other side and know how to tell it comedically. So there's like a lot you have to go through. To get to that point.
Yes, absolutely. I've been through some stuff where even now I'm trying to figure out how to frame it as funny. Some things are just off limits probably, like, but you kind of know, and you're like, there's something crazy funny here. Like, if it's like a big mistake or something, then you could be like, oh, well, I'll frame myself as like an idiot or maybe whether it's yourself or whether it's like right now I'm working on this animated show, it's like whether it's this like little animated character who's like got this side of me in him, and so I can tell that story kind of through this world. It's just like a never-ending adventure of trying to do that with life.
Damn.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it.
Facts. Facts. But tonight we're going over to the comedy bar and we may document a bit of that experience. And I'll be on the lookout for comedians who I think seem social and approachable that I can approach. See you there. Bye.
See you there. Transition. Transition. Oh. Wait, hold on. The focus is fucked. Okay. Yeah, all right. Go ahead. She's good. She can actually crip walk. What the fuck?
At the comedy bar, Ben introduced me to his friend Devin, and we all really enjoyed the show. It was a proper silly time. Afterwards, Ben was able to introduce me to one of the performers, Sam Burns. He's just a real friendly, funny dude. And he agreed to have me interview him. So later that week, I went over to Sam's place and picked his brain about the pursuit of comedy.
Sorry about this coffee, by the way.
Oh, it's coffee, you know, I've made
It's strong.
Oh, no, it's good.
Is it strong or no?
I can't tell anymore, like.
Okay.
Maybe it is, yeah. But I was living in Europe last year and they just make espresso, and now I don't know what's espresso and what's coffee.
Okay. All right.
But
yeah, because I took one sip of that. I was like, whoa.
Okay, we're flying. The end of this thing's gonna be kind of rowdy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel it. Rowdy vibes already.
Yeah, it's super rowdy in here. So, is it mostly stories, or are there other ways that ideas come to you for the beginnings of a joke?
I would love to sit down and like write and just go. But most of the time it is like not planned, and it's just like walking down the street, and then like I'll have a memory of something that happened. I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of funny, and then just put a note in my phone.
Yeah.
It's a lot of just like doing things, like walking around or doing the dishes, or not. I'm not trying to come up with anything, and then I either have a memory or I have like a funny, I don't know, to me I think is a funny thought. Or conversations with people.
Yeah.
That helps a lot too.
When you're like developing a joke further, do you go and write, or is it all in your head?
That's kind of a new thing I've been doing. Like a joke I've done a few times on stage, I'll listen back and find the dips, and then try to sit down and write it, or like write something for that.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I'll just have a joke that's not really working, and then I just stop doing it, and then maybe bring it back a couple months later. And find like a new, or it could be like a part of another joke, or there's something you could do with it.
Yeah.
I found like performing for strangers is way easier than performing for like friends and family.
Yeah.
Like whenever when I go to Edmonton or whatever, I have family there, and they'll be like, "We're going, we bought tickets," and my heart like drops. And I love them, and they're great, but it's just, I don't know, it adds this pressure. I don't know what it is.
People who know you.
People know me, and like, I don't know, I guess, I don't know if the set doesn't go well, and they're strangers, they'll never see them again. Or like, that night's like over, but it's like with families there, they'll see me like die on, I don't know. I'm afraid they're gonna like judge me, even though they love me. You know what I mean? I don't get it. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I feel like for me, it would have to do with a little bit of like how I have an idea of how they look at me, and how I'm like nervous to shift that. I don't know. There's just like knowing how someone perceives you gets in the way of wanting to try new things and be creative on stage.
I know. Which is kind of not good.
Not good. Good to break those.
It's good
barriers.
to break that.
Yeah.
I also just like, seeing someone like lie to you, not just they just don't want to hurt your feelings. Yeah. And they're like, hi, like I've had like my mom and my aunts like see me not do well on stage, and they just go, so how'd you think that went? Like they asked me first. Yeah. Do you think that went well? I go, no. They go, what do you mean no? We loved it. That was amazing. And then my mom's big line is, oh, well, I could never do that. Oh, what you do, I could never do. I'm like, what, bomb for 10? Yeah, you could. Get 0 laughs for 10 minutes? Yeah, you could probably do that.
No. Oh my gosh.
Sometimes you bomb, and if you don't really know anyone, they just don't look at you.
Right.
It's just like you don't exist anymore, and you just sit there. It's tough when you do a road gig, because then you're driving back sometimes 2 hours.
Right.
And if it doesn't go well, if you have a good set and the person doesn't have a good set, it's awkward. Like if you both like kill or you both bomb, you're good. But if it's like someone does good, someone does bad, bit of an awkward car ride back.
Yeah, is there any do you experience any kind of envy within being in comedy? Like when someone, like maybe when you see someone really thriving, and as much as I feel like the secure thing to do is like cheer them on and you feel excited for them, but then also when you're kind of like trying to do the same path, it's hard not to be like, that last set went bad, and I don't know, how do you deal with like that contrast when that contrast comes up?
I'm better now. Yeah. Like, so if I was doing a road gig and the person killed and I bombed, I honestly wouldn't really care that much. When I was younger, that would definitely really affect me. And I would kind of pout, but then
doesn't do
you're
anything.
Kind of annoying to be around.
Yes, you don't want to be a bummer to be around.
You're a bummer to be around, exactly. And it's like, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, dude.
No.
We did stand up in a brewery, like in London, Ontario. Like life goes on. I don't see the point of like.
No.
just hating someone to hate them.
Yeah, I feel like when I'm in a period where maybe I'm doubting my skills, it's so nice to be able to surround myself with people who are inspiring me, and I feel like absorbing their energy helps me put out a better energy as well. So it's like better to absorb when they do good, like taking some of that. I feel like sometimes I lean into like lean into Buddhism or Taoism, where it's like everything is one, and it's like their success is everyone's success.
That's a good way to look at that. Yeah.
And
I've
like
never
seeing
even
it as like
thought of
I'm
it.
proud of them, and like I don't know, because they did good, some of that feels shared. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. That is, 'cause I think there's a lot of truth in that. And then when you meet, like, if you ever meet like a successful comic or whatever, like a cool headliner, 9 times out of 10 they're like so nice and so down to earth and so supportive.
Yeah. Do you ever feel any pressures around, or maybe especially when you were younger, like was there ever any anxiety around just trying to become a part of the community?
Definitely. Yeah, it's a huge part. It's scary. You go, like I moved here from Barrie, and I was lucky that I went to college, and there was other people in college who I met who wanted to do stand-up as well. So I was super lucky in having like a couple guys that we would all go together to the open mic and experience that together. But I mean, there was also times where I would just be by myself, and there's a lot of cliques in comedy. There's nothing wrong with that. There's just different groups of people, and you can just feel left out and alone. And there's a lot of nights where I'm on 29th, and I literally don't, and everyone's talking around me, and I just like sit there and I'm waiting for my spot.
Yeah.
And then you go up and you don't have a great set, and then you get off and no one looks at you. You're just, and then you take the bus home, and you're like, I don't know if I should be doing this. Like, it's very like lonely. Relationships in stand-up are so like deep, and like when you find that person that you just click with, and you have very similar like sense of humor, and meeting people in stand-up, I kind of felt like I found my crew.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now I try to do my best if I ever see someone by themselves, and they're just kind of, because I just know how awful it feels.
Yeah.
I try to just be like, hey, what's up, what's your name? Do you know, what time are you on? Just something like that. Some sort of interactions. You literally feel like a ghost.
Yeah, totally. Have you ever tried to crack that yourself when you go to a show alone?
I mean, it's been a while, because I feel like I've just been doing it so long, I'm gonna know someone there. But going to like a new city, doing shows, like out of town shows, you go back into ghost mode. It's hard for me. I'm like super introverted, only child. So like I'm also like I'm sort of cool with not talking to people, but I'm also not at the same time. I try, but it's hard. I did some shows in New York, and it's just like, it's weird, like, I don't know, and people are just like, everyone's talking, and they're having a good time, and then I just don't know how to like insert myself.
Yeah.
So
where do you think that resistance comes from? What do you think you're resisting?
I think it's like a chance of getting like rejected or something. So it's like, well, I'm not even gonna talk because then I won't get rejected. Where if I do try to get in on something, they go like, and they all turn, or like, I've seen it where it's like they like literally close off, and you're like, wow, all right, okay.
Yeah. I feel like, I relate to that. There was a period I used to go to concerts alone more often, but when I would do that, I would try to introduce myself to someone new. And like, I feel like now I'm at the point where it's like the regret of not saying anything like lingers heavier than the regret of being rejected.
Oh.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, yeah, because I feel like majority of the time, like, people are going to be nicer than you thought. And if they're mean, then it's like, that's their fault.
Exactly. I know. And
which is a reasonable thing, but then you're at the club and people are doing that, and it's scary in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. That's so true. Like, you just put yourself, like, if someone were to talk to me, I wouldn't be like, can you fuck off?
Yeah. When we met, that's exactly what you did.
I said it to you.
Yeah, you did. No.
And you are?
Yeah.
Hi. There's actually this really, I was in LA with my friend Ben and Veronica, and I had this like epiphany, this like moment where we're driving around, and I do really have this problem where I assume strangers are like mean. Like I feel like I don't know what it is. I'm in therapy, but I assume everyone's like pissed off, and when I go to a comedy show, I assume the audience is like, all right, fucking prove yourself.
Yeah.
Which is not the case. People bought a ticket to have fun. And that is what it is, like 95% of the time. People want to have fun and laugh. Anyways, I was just driving around LA, and I'm gonna start leading with love. That's my thing now. I'm gonna lead with love. Like I'm just gonna assume everyone's like in a good mood, and they're open to talking, and they're open to having new experiences instead of being all shut off and stuff.
Yes.
And I was like, I'm just gonna like go for it and say hi to people, and they're like, cool, good for you, man. And then who's the girl that sang Friday?
Rebecca Black.
Rebecca Black was on the street corner.
Hi, Rebecca.
And they were like, oh my God, it's Rebecca Black. And I was like, oh, cool. I was like, lead with love. And they're going, Sam, don't. I said, well, I'm just going to say hi to her. No, please, God, don't do it. And then I leaned into the bit a bit. I was like, what? It's my new life now. I didn't do anything though.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll talk. No.
I don't know what I'd say to her.
No, I mean, on the road too, that's different. It's like she's just trying to have her day.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like,
no.
Do you think any regular Joe should try comedy if they feel like it? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then
go for it.
From there, like, what advice do you have for anyone who's like completely new to trying that out?
To trying it out?
Yeah.
I don't know. To just do it. It's really not as it's not as what's the word I'm looking for? It's not as like crazy as you think it is.
Yeah.
It's like for sure very nerve-wracking. But then once you do it, I don't know, regardless, you'll feel good after.
Yeah.
I think.
Hopefully.
Like even if you don't get a single laugh, you can walk off being like, I did this thing that like so many people are afraid to do. And I went up and did it. And I don't know. And comics are cool, and like I've gone to so many shows or like open mics where the host will be like, so this person going, it's actually their first time, and like the comics love it, and it's like it is like a really good vibe. And yeah, it's weird to say that though, but like stand-up comedians they're kind of welcoming. I don't know. What I've noticed, like the newer generation, like the post-pandemic comedians are like very positive and nice, which is very, it's good. But yeah, go for it. I don't know. Try it out. Yeah.
Talking to Sam was really enlightening. You can just tell how dedicated and passionate he is about comedy, and that was super inspiring. And he carries himself with such a light, easy confidence. It was just really fun and natural to talk to. And on the way home, I was just getting really excited to start writing my own set for the first time. The conversation just was very encouraging. Last night I sat down and I wrote down 3 joke ideas. One of them is about cockroaches, another about noodles, and one about potatoes. I guess I was a little bit hungry, and I don't know, but yeah, I wrote them down in jot note form on Google Docs. And I hope I didn't get too detailed, honestly, with it, because I feel like if I write down the joke too specifically and too detailed, then when I get up there on stage and try to perform it, then I'll become too perfectionist-y about it. And I just want to be able to get up there and like have an idea and just want to express it. you know?
So that helped me kind of figure out the chapters for each bit, and then from there I was just practicing in the mirror. But I wanted some more advice, so I called up my friend Joel Haber to give me notes.
I've done a handful of stand-up open mics back when I was living in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And they were of varying degrees of serious. I've never done stand-up seriously as an effort to do a set of rehearsed material.
Yeah.
I would go with some gag plan, some strange like anti-comedy bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually the angle I would take on it.
Yeah.
So like one time I just went on stage, brought a basketball and dressed up all cool, and I just dribbled the basketball for 5 minutes.
Nice.
And everyone would applaud whenever I tried to do it between my legs, but I wasn't that good at it.
That's nice.
I feel like I don't have the desire to do it in the classical, like, write material
Yeah.
monologue way.
Yeah. I feel like I'm trying to find my bearings with what kind of style I want to have. And I don't know if I could do the dribbling ball. I don't know about my physical comedy. But
Yeah, no, I wouldn't recommend that. I don't think it was that funny. But
because you saw me perform in Copenhagen, and I tried to practice to you there, but it was, I don't know, something about practicing for one person is almost scarier. So maybe we talk about the idea, and then I'm sure I'll end up like acting out bits as we go.
okay.
I feel so nervous to share them, but you promise that you won't hate me because my jokes?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I won't.
The first one is about cockroaches, and this apartment I'm subletting has some cockroaches in it, and I know yours does too. And not to put that on blast.
Both do. I could, it's already relatable. Nice.
Thanks.
Do you want feedback on
I
it?
don't know. You didn't laugh at all,
Yeah.
so.
Well, I feel like that delivery, if that's your
I don't know if it
delivery,
is. I don't
it's-
think that's my delivery.
That felt more like a PowerPoint presentation. and
Yeah.
Maybe it's because you were showing me your screen. I feel like there was it felt serious to a fault, but not in a way that like Joe Perro would land. It felt like
No.
you were just talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of was too. I don't know if it's not really how I would want to perform it, but I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe that doesn't help.
I feel like the biggest thing with stand-up that makes the difference between bombing and not bombing is just carrying yourself with a confidence.
Yeah.
Regardless of how, well, you could say anything, and if you say it confidently, it'll work. If you
Yeah.
walk off the stage like, I don't care how that went or that went well,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what, I think that makes all the difference in the world. Because right now, when you're reading the material, I feel like I'm not laughing solely because you're just explaining it, but also on top of that, it feels like you're second guessing it every like second.
Yeah.
So if you just said these exact same things you're saying to me on a stage without the second guessing,
Yeah.
I feel like it would work, you know?
Yeah.
The worst open mics I've gone to were just people who were so self-conscious about
don't
what
want
they
to.
were saying and just like lost the plot, you know, people who just like allow their like ramblings about bombing to become the you know, rather than just sticking to whatever they wanted to do, they people start getting in their head about oh god I'm bombing, and then they start talking about that, and it just
Yeah, I don't want
spirals,
to talk.
and it's
If
just-
I bomb, I don't want to address it at all. I just want to say my piece. But I don't know. But
Yeah.
I mean, I was delivering
I'll-
it last night, and it was fun, and like, I don't know. I have trouble doing it one-on-one. But
yeah.
Trying to perform my bits for Joel over a video call felt kind of awkward, but it was still really helpful to get his tips back, even though he didn't hear my best performance. But we kind of figured out what parts sounded redundant and where I could take away specificity and where I could add it.
I'm just about to head out for an open mic. It's like 11 p.m. These things seem to mostly get hosted very late. I don't think I'm gonna do any of my material this time. I'm just gonna watch. I just want to sit back and watch an open mic. It's been a minute, so just marinate in that vibration, and then tomorrow is when I'm gonna perform.
And there was one more person I really wanted to talk to before going out and trying an open mic for myself, and that was Veronica Sova. And I hope I said that right. But you've probably seen her around on TikTok at Veronica is Cool, and I just totally admire her unabashed expression on there, man. We met a couple years ago actually at a party and hung out there. It was really sweet. And since then, I've been following her on social media. It's been so cool to see her rise on there and get all the recognition she deserves. It's so awesome. And I love her podcast with Kyle, Nevermind. And on there, sometimes she'll talk about her own anxiety. So I wanted to ask her more about how, despite that, she musters the courage to get out there and perform the way that she does, and maybe get some advice, because I have some anxiety too.
Yeah, I was thinking about how, especially when I was younger, there was like a point where I realized that I wasn't really an introvert and I was more of a shy extrovert. It got me to thinking about like back in high school when I was in an improv class and just like having that teenage anxiety of going up on stage, while it was super fun and it was something that I longed and yearned to do, there was a lot of like holding back, you know. And I remember I was listening to one of your recent episodes, Nevermind, and you were talking about how you noticed when you were younger, when you were holding back and just like about letting go of that. And I just got to thinking about how improv has a lot to do with just trusting yourself. So I wonder, how do you get into that space, and is that a part of it for you?
Yeah, I think improv, like, it's like stand-up, it's like any comedy in general. You have to do it 8 million times before you even have an idea if you like it or not, because there's so much you have to overcome in terms of like just, oh, what does the audience think? What do I think? I'm thinking of this joke. I want to come in with this joke. It's like you really have to leave everything, and specifically with improv, just trust. It's like jumping out of a plane and then like building a parachute, and the jumping out of a plane is just jumping in a scene kind of thing. And then you're like, I'm just going to figure this out, and having stuff that's like not premeditated and just seeing where your brain goes that's not planned out, if that makes sense. Like just actually see what your sense of humor and what your subconscious brain is doing. And that's when the most interesting stuff kind of comes out, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So yeah, but just doing it a million times, honestly. Like I did it for many years before I was even like remotely like, oh, okay, I think I'm like kind of all right at this, but it's it changes, it ebbs and flows, and it kind of it also has to do with like where you're at in your life and confidence and all these things. But
and like when you're I was thinking about how like comedy and self-esteem can go hand in hand. And do you ever like kind of consciously have to detach the two so that you can keep pursuing it? I don't know, in like the low periods, how does your relationship to comedy and performance shift, if it does?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I've always, the way I kind of eased into it, and I was always doing stuff that's like team-based, like whether sketch comedy and improv, so I'm never failing alone. And I think that's always like a good way to kind of start out. I don't know, I've never like, stand-up's never been like my thing, but then now I'm kind of like doing it I'm doing my own stuff. I'm performing alone. I don't know what stand-up is anymore, but performing alone and bombing alone. Yeah, I think I have quite a good relationship, maybe because I've been doing it for a little bit now, with knowing that it's not, sometimes it is me, and that's okay that I had an off night or I wasn't in the zone. But I think being a professional is consistency and just going, okay, well then, yeah, I just have to work a bit harder or get in that zone and figure out what it is that I tell myself before I go on stage that's exciting. But usually I just kind of don't have a lot of pressure on it or myself, even though that's like easy to say. But I'd say that's just be like, oh yeah, this is so, I'm not delivering a baby. I'm like doing comedy in a basement. Like, who gives a fuck? Like, or in even a bigger stage. It's like, great. People who have jobs and are paying money to see me are like choosing to spend their night watching some comedy. How fun is that? And let's just have fun. I know that's just stupid, but like kind of simple shit like that helps.
Yeah, definitely. I think simplifying it is the way to go. Maybe on the more nervous nights, on the nights where you don't feel totally 100%, like, do you have any routines or tools that you use before getting up there that kind of get you back into the mindset of like being excited rather than nervous?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I moved to New York like 6 months ago now, and at the beginning I was kind of like, oh fuck, like nobody knows who I am, or they know me from the internet, which is even worse because now they have this idea of who I am. And yeah, in theater school I used to tell myself this, like, you know, would Leonardo DiCaprio be nervous? No. or like if I'm nervous now, what about when I get to whatever place I want to get to, you know, or like my Netflix special, then like it's so it's such a weird thing. You actually have to trick yourself in a way sometimes to be like, or have and trust yourself, you know, like everyone is, never compare yourself. There's no way of comparing yourself to anybody, because even if someone looks exactly like me, I'm like, okay, like, and you know, there's just some your brain is so different. What other ways do I tell my I never, you know, I would not get in the habit of like having a drink before. I'd say that's my advice as well.
Right.
Because that can lead to a slippery slope. And being present and just remembering what a joy comedy is. And that's the whole point of it.
Putting on characters as well is like pretty intimidating for someone starting out. I don't know, how do you warm yourself up to immersing yourself in something that's not yourself, or maybe it is? Do you feel like your characters are also a part of yourself? I don't know, what's your experience with having characters? I mean, a lot of my comedy, my characters are like influenced from me, and that's like feeling awkward and feeling like I want to like give up, but I keep going kind of thing. Like a lot of my characters are kind of like unsure, and it's weirdly kind of worked in my live performance too, of that's where I think I'm funniest. Maybe it's the in-between parts. It's the lulls of, okay, that joke didn't hit. Fuck me, what am I going to think of now? And then that's when the audience starts laughing. It's like, you know what I mean? Where I'm just like, oh, you know, and it's, that's, I think, that you can find little character things. Sorry, I'm like all over the place. Characters, to me, are just like versions of yourself, and also, I don't know how to be sincere on stage. I find it really scary. So I'm always kind of putting on some version of myself, and that actually helps me, I think. Is just going all out and finding a character. But I think it's kind of, try it, it's fun, but also being sincere and being yourself is easier for you. Then that's, for me, I'm always like, whoa, no one wants to know about where I was born, you know? I was thinking my inspirations are a lot of like Joe Pera and John Wilson. I just really love the slice of life. Like, they're just telling you about something that interests them, and somehow it becomes funny because they're talking about something that they like, or they're curious about. I feel like that's been my approach with trying to come up with ideas, is just finding things that I like. And I feel like
that's a great way.
I feel like less of a storyteller. So I feel like I get intimidated about bringing someone from beginning to end a whole story. Maybe I'm just not quite there yet. So
I've never been there.
Right.
I'm not a storyteller either, so don't even. That's the thing is like there's so, especially now in today's age, like everything's all meta and fucking like there's just so much you can do. And I love John Wilson because it is so. I think we've kind of lost. I'm not going to name names, but some comics who are and directors and people that make stuff nowadays are a bit dark, and I'm over it. I'm like, just fucking, people are good. Like, can we just get back to that shit that there's like we feel hopeful for humanity at the end of something?
Yes. It's so dark these days.
My friend Allie actually just got, she's my neighbor, and she writes for John Wilson.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's just so, that's the thing about New York. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
like, there's like, oh,
and connected.
And if you continue, you don't, I was always on my phone or on my laptop watching all these people, and then now I'm like friends with them in cool ways, and you never ever know. So this is exciting that you're on this journey.
Yes, it's a journey.
It's a journey. It never ends.
Yeah. How has it been going? Like finding yourself in a new community of silliness and of performance. I don't know. Yeah, how's that going?
Yeah, I was in LA for a little bit before this. There's not really community there. So for comedy specifically, I feel like you kind of have to be at a certain level to I don't know.
It's also just less natural. It's like you have to go to someone's house. Like you already have to know someone quite well instead of just like walking around. There's less like, oh, I saw them at a bar and we're developing our friendship at a natural pace.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like I have to drive to their house and So New York is just, there's more people, and there's more like dirty rat people like me. And then we all just kind of, it's been super crazy this last few months of like my stuff on the internet has been growing. So that's been a different pace of things. And I also like that people now come to my shows, and I now am at the point where people know what to expect, which is pretty cool. So that gives me a different sort of confidence. Yeah, but then I did, the other night I did a show where no one knew who I was, and I didn't do well, you know what I mean? I'm just like, oh, okay, yep, and we're back, like you never...
It's interesting.
Yeah,
I feel like once you have, some folks who will show up to you and suddenly there's a crowd that's dense with people who like you no matter what you're gonna do. I feel like sometimes like that, the prospect of that is almost like, oh, like I don't know if I'm gonna get good feedback from this crowd because they just like me.
But that's okay.
Yeah, which is good.
You'll get good feedback of
you
like
get
what
good
felt
feedback.
Good to you.
Yeah, definitely. That's true.
But no, New York is awesome. You really work hard here. That's kind of the difference. But I also love LA too, and I'll be spending some time there too. But New York is not for the weak, I'd say. That's the one thing. I'm like crying every day when I first got here, but now I feel kind of more normal. I stay in a lot now, and it's the winter months, and I'm like, it's okay. I don't have to like go out to stuff all the time. I can
chill,
work from my house. Yeah,
it's nice when you can finally settle in.
But again, just pushing through and going, okay, I've done this for a little bit, and I trust myself and I trust my instincts, and come along for the ride. And I don't know if you're gonna like it, but I like it. And
yeah, that's the biggest thing. It's just liking it yourself.
Yeah, but it's a different kind of. It's a double-edged sword of like, I wish I was anonymous sometimes, so then if I bomb, no one would know. Or I feel kind of like, I don't know, not that, but it's kind of, even though I think we're kind of getting over this, but just like being a woman and going up and people being like, even though I think it's very subconscious, but I think some people still have that maybe a little bit of like, oh, there's a woman, is she gonna talk about how she's fucking everyone in her apartment building, or is she gonna be, it's very, again, we're moving. I want to say, but
And I think
there's a bit of that.
Yeah, I feel like that's part of what has held me back as well. And I even just remember back in like high school improv class, just feeling like I don't want to start being called like the annoying girl. It's like as soon as you start doing a bit or something, they're just like, you're annoying. It's like, I mean, why do I care? You know, I hope I can just get to the point where it's like, and so and so it doesn't really.
Or being gross. I think that's like a big fear as women is like, I don't want to be unattractive. That's like my whole thing. It's like I'm supposed to be attractive.
Yeah.
And when you do something, I think I've really lost that part of myself. Obviously, I still think about it a lot. But like when I perform or when I make videos, I really don't think about it very much. So and it helps as well. So and whether that's like me wearing baggier clothes or things like that, where I'm like, just focus on what I'm doing and not about what I'm wearing or what's showing or whatever makes you feel best, you know?
Yeah, because you're gonna be gorgeous either way in your own way. And yeah, I don't know, just committing to being present in what you're performing is so important. Oh yeah, I wanted to ask about how you develop new I don't know what you would call it, like if it's a new skit or if it's a new
material
or new material.
It's very influenced from my real life, which sounds crazy because a lot of my stuff is very absurd, I think, and like kind of like what, but it is like I have this one video that I'm a waitress and you can barely understand what I'm saying, but that was because I saw a waiter squatting at a table and I was like, that's a fucking crazy move, like, you know, and I was like, well, that's the type of person, and then all of a sudden it just kind of developed into what it was, but it is like simple premises usually, like I think that's always the way of like, oh, I felt, or even with the Kyle and Veronica stuff of like, I've been there, I've embarrassed myself trying to get someone to like me before, I've or what's the one I just did? I just posted one today of like a parody of people being on their phones, and that's like, or people should get off their phones or something. And that was like, me just like watching shit and be like, oh yeah, I've seen this kind of parody before, and that makes me like doing a Trump impression now really makes me laugh, you know, like stuff that's kind of like outdated. And who would be making that kind of stuff really makes me laugh. Like, so I it's my real life, and it's kind of the things that tickle me, and that I don't really question it. I just kind of run with it.
Yeah. And right after talking to Veronica, it was time to go over to an open mic. I was a little nervous, but mostly just really excited to finally share this material I'd been working on. And luckily, a couple of my friends came down from Hamilton, and they brought a couple of their friends. So I had good moral support. I knew I was gonna get at least a couple pity giggles from them. And it was a bucket show, so it was supposed to be like random picked names. At least that's what I thought. But the guy who was hosting was just kind of picking names that he knew out of the bucket. So a couple hours in, like we waited a while, but my name was not being called. And I noticed he kind of discarded a couple of the names to the side. I was like, I don't know if that might be my name, I don't know. So we waited a little and then just decided to leave. But I was not gonna go home without performing, so we took it to the streets.
Welcome to the open mic. Let's hear it for me. For the open mic. We got a really short show tonight. Not a lot of people showed up, so I'm just gonna do about 30 minutes off the cuff, and then we'll get to Tiana's joke. I didn't even plan it. So Tiana, come on up here.
Wow, guys, does anyone have a microphone-shaped thing? I have something, maybe.
I have 2 pieces of bubble gum.
Okay, yeah, that's perfect.
Sorry to be the middleman on that.
Wow, give it up for Sam. Like, he's doing so good. Wow, Toronto. Do you have cockroaches in your house?
No.
I have before. You have before? Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My fingers are so cold.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like we know you, so it's like almost not even as funny
Yeah,
because we
right.
know,
Yeah,
like we're not surprised, but like for people to just see like a random stranger and to like you're talking about talking cockroaches and jackets like for like a good like 4 minutes.
Now it's a few days later. It's Tuesday, and it's my last chance to try and film me doing an open mic for this documentary because I have to post it in a couple days. So I'm just feeling really eager and excited to finally share this material, hopefully, but it is another bucket show, so there's still a chance I just won't get picked. But I'm feeling cute. I did my eyeliner, I curled my hair, I'm feeling cute. So it's gonna be great.
Riff and banter off top, just set a tone. Make a low bar for you to be able to climb up above when you guys get on stage. How's that sound? Absolutely, everyone wants a low bar. All right, our next comedian, I believe this is their first time ever performing on stage, so be super kind, make a lot of noise. Keep it going for Tiana.
Hey guys, Toronto's great. I'm subletting here right now. Yeah, who here has cockroaches? Yeah, they're awesome. So I have some of those. And they're part of the lifestyle, but I try to eliminate them, So my favorite method is probably like getting some alcohol and peppermint oil, putting that in a water gun and just shooting them down like one by one. I love killing. It's great, so good. It's like good release, but I am vegan, so it's like a little conflicting. I have to like keep up that moral standard, find a more compassionate way because I'm like better than everyone. It's hard. So I was thinking about that, talking to my roommates about what we could do. And it came to my mind that like these cockroaches in our apartment, they don't know anything about like the laundry room and the bowels of our 40-story building and all the abundance of decay there. Like, is an hourly turnaround of just decay, yes. And so I was thinking about how can I let them know about that? I think they would really love to know. And I work in marketing, advertising, I dabble in graphic design, it's my passion. So you had a eureka moment, okay. Tiny flyers for the cockroaches to, I'm just picturing them like skittering up. You know how like their skitters sound? Skittering up to this tiny pink flyer and like maybe the text is a little too small and they pull their little cockroach reading glasses out of their little cockroach coat and they're like furrowing their little brow trying to read it and they read it like, oh boy, this is quite grand. And I just like to think they're kind of distinguished. Yeah, I like to picture that, like get a real thrill out of imagining that they're like in a quilted coat. And so, tried that. Got them here, actually. And I don't know what kind of demographic we're working with, right? Like I gotta do like some ABC testing. Starting out with Dear Roachy, talking to the coquette roaches, right? The girlies. Come on down to the laundry room in our basement. We left so many crumbs. Stop chasing, start attracting. I don't know if the roaches are onto law of attraction yet, Esther Hicks, putting them onto that. We got this, here you go. And then we got more of a masculine vibe, jackass inspired kind of thing, like, hi cockroach, you're wasting your time up here in our apartment. The real party's in the laundry room downstairs. Everyone's winning. It's kind of like casino for cockroaches. Visit our pools, like the water under the washing machines. Decay buffet and relax in our rotting book collection. They've got like these bookshelves there, just looks totally like a cockroach hotel. And wants to know what you're missing? The answer is yes. Okay, cool. Pass that down. Finally, like something paradise themed, like for the touristy roaches, once you want to get away, vacation. Hey Roach. Oh, some palm trees on there, by the way. That last one had an explosion. So every hour is happy hour in the laundry room. All you can eat bed bugs,
a wet and warm atmosphere, and God knows what else, check out the lunchroom. Paradise awaits. And they get a free ride via the garbage chute. One-way ticket, no visa required. Yeah, give that to someone you love. I've got a few of them left. I'm just wondering, like, if you guys were a roach, like, if you were a roach, would you probably go down to the laundry room after what you've seen?
Oh yeah, the palm trees for sure.
Yeah, he's a palm tree guy. Okay, cool. Okay, I'm excited to see what kind of demographic I'm working with. It's still in like beta testing, and I mean it's different at every apartment. So you know, just let me know if you need one of these, if you want to try it out, be a part of the beta program. Thank you so much.
First set, that was incredible. All right, we reached the end of the show. It's time for our headliner. We're pulling one last act.
So it's the day after my first open mic. Was able to find a slot at the comedy bar. People were sweet, and I guess I don't know if the laughs were all real or if any of them were just like being nice to me because it was my first time. I'd be interested to see how the joke goes over on a different crowd as well. I guess that's the whole thing too, is that as much as you can take feedback from the crowd, one group of people might love it while the next doesn't get it. So yeah, I'm just feeling really motivated to keep trying at open mics and doing bits. And I feel like I already have a decent sense of my voice and a decent sense of how I want to edit it as I go along. That's just gonna take more practice to really figure out who I am on stage, while also just allowing that to always be changing and be in flux. I felt so pumped up after because I was just like surprised that I did well. And already I'm like, don't let it get to your freaking head, man. Oh my gosh, manage yourself. But now I'm gonna allow myself to freak out and say like, damn, I did that, and I am really excited, and I am really proud of myself. And it's okay that I feel like proud of this. It's okay to feel proud of it. Just don't like gloat. It wasn't that great either. It wasn't, you know, I'm no Jerry Seinfeld, okay? And talking to Ben and Sam and Joel and Veronica before getting up on a stage was really helpful in the end for me. I could keep all their words of wisdom in my mind before getting up there. And yeah, I feel like I especially resonate with Veronica's sentiment of like, if I want to grow bigger than this first open mic, then I just have to bring my courage with me and like shoot my shot fully and commit. So that was definitely in my mind. I'm like, I gotta just commit. Like, why wouldn't I? I just want to have fun and I want to bring my joy to it. Yeah, that really resonated with me. I feel like in the past I've kind of looked at the comedy scene in the same light that I see the skateboarding scene in. When I was a teenager and first getting into skateboarding, all the characters there were like kind of intimidating and cool on the surface, you know? But you just say hi and get to talking with them and you realize like this is a really friendly, awesome community. Thanks for joining me on this adventure through comedy with a bit of a focus on stand-up. I'm so grateful that I got to learn from so many inspiring pals in the process, and I've definitely gained some tools on bringing fun and peace back into my life when I'm experiencing anxious slumps. I remember at the beginning of this doc, I was in like a weird place emotionally, and just trying out comedy has really helped. Yeah, so this is only the beginning, and as much as I expect to bomb in the future, I'm just gonna enjoy the ride. It's gonna be great.